use every last drop of strength.
The Niners are overwhelming the defenses! We've received militant tribute from the rebellion.
We're here to help you defend this town.
I will not fail you!
They're trying to flank your men!
Welcome back to another episode of DLC. It's another solo episode, but this time with me, Alex. I'm here today to talk about Age of Darkness Final Stand, a game by PlaySide Studios, which we were lucky enough to get a review copy of. A big thank you to Game.Press and PlaySide Studios for this opportunity. Age of Darkness is a real-time strategy game that released on the 15th of January this year, 2025, and is available through Steam. While it's easy to draw comparisons to games like Age of Empires, this game does feature some unique mechanics which we will get to in a bit. The game has 3 different modes to play through, each offering a different experience. First off, there is Campaign mode. I didn't put too much time into this admittedly. I tend to find that stories in RTS games are a bit restrictive and usually more of an afterthought, but I'm aware that that is just a personal bias. That being said, the amount I did play was enjoyable and taught me the basics of the game really well. I have seen that the story gets much more interesting, and so will definitely be checking that out in the future. One thing I did find interesting, which a lot of RTS games don't usually do with their campaigns, was the attention of detail given to the heroes. Each has unique characteristics about them, and the voice acting has been incredibly well produced. They're easily identifiable, with unique abilities tailored to their characteristics, and feel like a well thought out character, rather than just a unit to throw at enemies. Then there's multiplayer mode. I wasn't able to play this, but from what I've read it is similar to Survival, which I'll be getting onto, but with 2 players working together. It doesn't look like there's currently any player versus player, but that is a possibility in the future, I imagine. Finally, there is Survival mode, and this is where I spent the majority of my time. You play as one of 3 factions, each of which has different units that you can build, as well as bonuses to things like their speed, attack, damage, defense, all that good stuff. Think of it a bit like picking your culture in Age of Empires. Each faction then has 2 heroes to pick from, offering different abilities and gameplay styles. You have some who are better for AoE damage, some that can heal, or some that excel in fighting the stronger opponents you might find. I would highly encourage trying each of them and finding one that suits your playstyle. Now, onto the actual gameplay. It has the usual gameplay loop that you'd expect from an RTS, gathering resources, building defences and raising an army. But you have your hero who you can send to fight and level up, giving you access to new abilities. Think of it a bit like the old Warcraft games, which I used to love. In terms of unique units and buildings that you can make, there are less than you would find in something like Age of Empires, but that's not necessarily a negative. Again, to draw a comparison, it's probably similar to what you would find in Warcraft games. You have one building that builds your armies, you have various buildings for resource gathering, defense buildings, guard towers, things like that. In terms of units for your army, it looks like there's only maybe 6 or 7, but again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because each of them are unique enough in what they can do. What this game does have is a very unique mechanic which drastically changes the gameplay as you progress. As you play the game, you're not facing off against different factions with buildings and armies to destroy. Instead, you're fighting against the Nightmare, a horde of creatures whose only goal is to destroy anything that lives. Their one weakness? The light. Now to discuss the mechanics, which I found add a very unique twist to the RTS gameplay loop. The game features a day-night cycle. During the day, the random pockets of the Nightmare are weaker and easier to kill, and they're generally not too aggressive unless provoked. However, during the night they become much more sinister, becoming stronger and actively engaging in attacking your armies and destroying your buildings. As you explore the map, you will lift the Fog of War, as you would in any other RTS. However, these areas are not necessarily safe, and we'll see why shortly. The only way to ensure that they stay safe is to build specific structures that bathe the area in light. Every 6 nights, which may change based on difficulty, is what is known as the Death Night, where things become much harder and you must fight to survive. There are 3 unique things that happen on Death Nights. First off, any areas of the map not lit up by your light structures become covered in the Veil. This is a dynamic living death fog that conceals enemies, drains your troops' life, and turns your building into spawning nests for more nightmares. If you haven't planned appropriately, the Veil can completely trap you and very easily destroy you. Secondly is the wave of nightmare creatures. To survive the Death Night, you must eliminate a tidal wave of nightmares. To give you an idea, the first Death Night you must survive has 600 nightmares to kill, and this number only increases the longer you survive. Lastly, during the Death Night, you will be afflicted by a random debuff. This could be an increased unit production cost, slower movement speed, lower health for defensive structures. These debuffs add a unique twist to every Death Night and force you to change how you approach them. That being said, should you survive, you'll be awarded with resources as well as a random permanent buff. This could be quicker unit production, more resources from your facilities. This could be faster unit production, more resources, quicker building speeds, better attack damage from your units. These buffs are incredibly valuable because, as mentioned, the game does get harder as you survive longer. In this game, planning buildings, resource management and unit production is the key to survival. It's important to mention this, you will die. These mechanics make the game a lot harder than other RTSs. Personally, I liken it to a Souls-like level of difficulty increase. In the interest of giving an honest and fair review, I think it is important to talk about issues in the game. The only real issue that I had while playing was the programming of units. The pathfinding definitely needs work. Often, you will send troops to a point and they will take dangerous routes, such as through the Veil, or even split up unintentionally and take different paths. This more often than not leads to the loss of troops. Then there's enemy targeting, which seems to be a bit janky at times. Sometimes the unit will not continue to attack once the target is dead, even if there's a handful of enemies right beside them. Sometimes they'll opt to target a non-attacking structures rather than actual threats. That being said, these issues are frequently being pointed out in Steam reviews, so I have no doubt that the developers are already working on it. So ultimately comes the big question, is this game worth checking out? For me, yes. While currently limited in its options compared to games like Age of Empires, its unique gameplay mechanics make it something worth checking out, especially if you want something a bit more challenging. There's plenty of scope for the developers to add new factions, new units, new buildings, maybe even new gameplay modes. At the time of recording, the game is £23 full price, which I think is reasonable for a game like this. It's important to remember that this game is only recently out of early access and is still being actively developed, so I'm sure that there's plenty more content in the future. So that's it from me. Thank you once again to Game.Press and Playside Studios. I truly look forward to what this game brings in the future. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.